What's up, guys? Coach B here. So today I want to talk about what I believe, in my opinion, is the absolute most important piece of the puzzle for anybody in training. It's the most important tool in anyone's toolkit in terms of making progress. And this is it simply right here, a logbook. This is gonna be what makes the difference for each and every person in terms of staying on track to their goals and getting to where you want to be with your physique. So when we're talking about bodybuilding and building muscle and building tissue, you name it, it all comes back to one simple thing. And honestly, I'm not a pioneer in this front. It's just something that is part of the process. But anyways, I've talked about it before, and it's progressive overload. So what is progressive overload? Progressive overload simply is constant change of stimulus and demands on the musculoskeletal system. And in order to continue to make progress in muscle mass, endurance, strength, you name it, we have to continue to make our muscles work harder. We have to overcome any adaptations that our body presents. Our body is very, very good at adapting to change. So when we train, we're breaking down muscle fibers. Our body adapts. It gets used to that, and it recovers stronger and bigger and better. So what do we have to do? We have to overcome that adaptation again and tear those muscles down again, so we redo that whole process. Now, in order to make sure that we're giving the body the stimulus we need and not giving it the same stimulus, we need to progress our loads. That is simply what progressive overload is in terms of training. Very simple, not complex, but I think it's missed a lot of the time. Now, progressive overload doesn't simply just mean beating the amount of weight you got last time. So it doesn't mean if you benched 315 for 5 reps, you're going to go in and bench 365 for 5 reps. Yes, that is progressive overload for sure. That's a hefty jump, 50 pounds. But anyways, it can be either increasing weight and getting the same amount of reps with the little bit extra load. It can be increasing the amount of reps you've done with the same weight. It can be increasing the time under tension that you have with a given load. So maybe you do 3-second negatives normally, and maybe you did 5 seconds this time. That's progressively overloading that movement. Maybe you simply just had a lot better form. You did the exact same weight for the exact same reps, but your reps look way cleaner and you've controlled that weight more. That's progressive overload. Now, when we talk about progressive overload, one of the reasons I'm making this post and talking about this is the fact that, yes, when we're talking about bodybuilding and we're talking about building muscle and improving our physique, it's not like powerlifting or a strength sport in that it's quantifiable per se. And you look at powerlifting, and a good powerlifter is strong. You see his numbers. He might have a 2,000 pound total. That you can't argue that. He squatted, benched, and deadlift 3 numbers that equated to 2,000 pounds. He is strong. I don't care who you are, that is quantifiable. And when it comes to bodybuilding and when it comes to building the physique you want, some people will say we don't necessarily have anything to quantify that, but you can absolutely quantify progress. So let me talk about that, and let me give an example here. Have you ever seen somebody bench press 405 pounds, 4 plates aside, in a hypertrophic rep range, so let's say 8 to 12 for reps, that has a small chest or no triceps? Probably not. Maybe if we did 10 people, you might find 8 of 10 have massive, big chest, big triceps. Same with the barbell row. Find me somebody that can do good form barbell row with 4 or 5 plates aside that has no back for reps, not just 1 rep, for reps. You won't find it. So with that being said, if we're using a logbook and we're quantifying our progress and we're transferring that over to hypertrophic rep ranges, and we're making sure that every single session we are progressively overloading in one way or another what we have previously done, you're putting a number to it. You're quantifying your progress. And if every single day you are beating what you have done before, again, remember, it doesn't need to be putting more weight on the bar, more weight on the bar, more weight on the bar. There's more ways to progressively overload. But if every single day you're taking a step to get better, to beat your previous bests, I promise you, your physique will massively change. It will. I don't care who you are, it absolutely will. Whether you're a bikini competitor, a lifestyle person, a bodybuilder, your physique will change. Start logging your training. Furthermore, this is, a lot of times we see people talk about goal setting. Well, writing in your logbook is technically a form of goal setting. Something that I recommend my clients do and that I do myself is before a session, I'm gonna write all of my exercises down in my logbook that I have for that day. I'm gonna flip back to the previous session where I had the same session, and I'm gonna look at my numbers. Now I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna stare at those numbers for a few minutes because that's my goals for today. I am gonna literally sit here and look at that and say, my goal on barbell row is gonna be 345 pounds because last week I did 340 pounds. Notice how I didn't add 25 pounds to the bar, 45 pounds to the bar. Making progress can be in small increments. Micro loading counts. There is no way and nobody on planet Earth that can progress week to week with 25 pound, 45 pound, you name it, increments. It's not gonna happen. Eventually it's gonna slow down and it's gonna hinder your progress if you're not micro loading. I use this analogy all the time with clients. So let's say day 0, you start bench pressing with just the bar and you can only do the bar for 10 reps. You fail at 10 reps, but you got your 10 reps with just the bar, 45 pounds. Perfect, awesome. Week 2 comes around. You're looking around in the gym, you see 45 pound plates, you see 25, you know, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do that this week. You look over there, oh look, 2.5. I can add 2.5 pounds to either side. I'm gonna add 5 pounds to my 45 pounds to make it 50. And let's see if I can do it. And all of a sudden you get another 10 reps. So you've progressively overloaded. Next week, you're like, hey, why don't we add 2.5 again to either side? So you add another 2.5, which is 5 pounds total. All of a sudden, hey, I did it again. At week 0, if you started with just the bar and you added 2.5 pounds per side, so 5 pounds total over the course of 1 year, you would go from benching 45 pounds to benching 307.5 pounds. It's very simple math. 52 weeks in a year times 5 pounds is 262 pounds roughly. Add that to 45, you're looking at 307 pounds. You just took one lift in 1 year up 260 pounds by adding 2.5 pounds per side to a bar. Now, progress is not linear. You are not going to be able to add weight every single week. This is where we need to understand that it's okay to have weeks that we don't beat our best, but when we're consecutively doing that, that's where we go back, we look inside of our logbook, and we make adjustments. We decide, okay, maybe I need a deload. Maybe I need to swap an exercise out. Oh, look, I've slept super shitty for the last 4 sessions prior to this one, and that's why I feel so like I've made no progress here. There's reasons why we don't make progress, and having something to track that is a huge defining factor in how you can make progress. So what should you be writing in a logbook? Well, everyone's going to be different. Individual, whatever you want to write is going to be up to you. But at the end of the day, there is a couple staple things I would recommend doing. So of course, you're going to write down the number of sets you did with a given exercise, the weight you did for that exercise, the number of reps you got. That's exactly what we're talking about here. But outside of that, there is a couple things that I think are very important to keep track of in a logbook. So these are things like hydration going into the session. How hydrated are you that day? On a scale of 1 to 10, if you normally drink 6 liters of water throughout the day and you're training at 8 p.m. and today you only drank a liter, you're not in the normal hydrated state you are. Your performance might be affected by that. And furthermore, if you get hurt or strain something, or pardon me, even just tweak something ever so slightly, and you go back in your logbook and you see, okay, on this day I tweaked something and I was dehydrated compared to most of my training sessions. There is cause and effect there. There is something to relate that to. So you know that if you're dehydrated on a given day, it might be better off to spend more time hydrating before you go to your training session, or to treat that as a rest day. Food is going to be the same thing. If you're super, super underfed and you just had a shit show of a day, you ended up missing some meals, your food went bad, whatever, there's a million things that could have happened, and you just haven't really ate. Well, for the most part, food is fuel. That might affect your performance. I'm not going to say skip your training session, but you'll be able to know if you wrote in your logbook that your food on that given day was a 3 out of 10, or you simply just made a note, missed 2 meals today, or your digestion was off and you had an upset stomach for most of the day, and you write this stuff down. And then at the end of your training session, you didn't have the best training session, you can go back and pinpoint on a reason why. And you can make moves that are going to change that moving forward. So in that regard, there's a couple things, like I said, that I like to do. I document my fluids, my sleep. Sleep is a big one. If you have poor sleep, that can affect your training huge. Your fluid intake, your food, your mood, and your stress. That's another big one. If you're super stressed and you're in a super shitty mood or something, that can transfer over to the gym and that can affect your training session. So if we're keeping track of all of these variables and we're controlling them to the best of our ability, and then session in, session out, we're doing our best to make sure we're going to war with the logbook and we're quantifiably making sure we're getting better, I promise you your physique is gonna change for the better. After all, that's why we're doing this. We're doing this for us. It is you versus you. You can have the best plan in the world. You can have the best coach in the world. You can have the best anything in the world. If you don't put in the effort, you're not gonna get everything out of it. And in my opinion, part of that effort comes down to small mundane tasks like this. You might be the guy in the gym with a logbook, but who cares what that person thinks of you for walking around with a logbook in your hand? You sure as shit shouldn't. In fact, you're making more progress than said person probably. We all know the person in the gym that literally has been going there for 5 years and looks the exact same. And they're just there to exist. And you know what? That might be their goal, just to not get fat and stay moving. That's okay. But if your goal is to get better, do not discount the value that this small little tool will have on your physique at the end of the day. Coach B, out.